I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat. They know it.
Pure exhilaration, feel it when you leave the earth. 100% adrenaline rush is what we know it's worth. If nothing else, we came to do it just to say we did. And if we do it, let them know.
To the Steve Joe podcast. Man, it's been a long time, my guy.
The Steve and Joe podcast, where sports meets life.
Yep. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Man, that means this has been a long time coming. This is where sports and life meets. You know, Steve, we have a lot of conversations.
Absolutely.
And we have conversations where we often start talking about sports, but 9 times out of 10, it circles back around to what's going on in our personal lives.
Absolutely. Family, kids, all of those things. And for me, sports has always been a pivotal point in my life. And I'll tell you why. So I want to start here for me, and I want to kind of dedicate this episode to my father. He passed away when I was 6 years old. It was an incredibly difficult time for me. And to be honest, I trapped a lot of things away. I can remember when we first heard the news, this lady from our church came to pick us up. She came out to pick us up, Miss Watts. And, you know, she came in to pick us up. My brother asked, how's my father doing? I think somebody to the effect. And he said, you know, he's not doing really good. So she didn't tell us the truth. So I at least thought that I would get a chance to say goodbye to my father. But when we got to the hospital, he was already dead. And she knew that. I guess she didn't want to, you know, tell us that or be the one to tell us that. But at that time, I didn't understand. And when, you know, it's hard to kind of, you know, talk about this. But whenever I remember being a little boy and the little poles in the hospitals outside that where you hold on to them, I think the handicapped people hold on to it, or even anybody who's sick. So I can always remember vividly putting my head down on that pole. And remembering I would never see my father again. And I pretended for a long time as I was young, like I didn't understand death, but I did understand it. And it was a point that really, it shaped me, and it was a void as well. And I really couldn't understand, you know, how I was a little boy growing up in the world and I didn't have a father no more because my family was normal. I grew up in a deeply religious family, a highly moral family. My brothers and sisters are wonderful. But I grew up in a family that, you know, we stuck together, and that was the thing that actually, propelled me forward. And that was the thing that actually made me who I am today. Those principles that we live by. But for that, at losing my father at that time, it was a hard thing for me. And I've never really spoken about it publicly, but I want to say that, you know, him not being here, it left that void, but it also grew me up too as well. I learned how to be a man on my own. It was a hard road. It's been a hard road. It will continue to be a hard road, but I had to learn things the organic way. I had to admit a lot of things I didn't know so I could ask for help. So it was just a whirlwind of things. So I want to dedicate this episode and really thank God for helping me through this journey, because even now, 26 years that he's been dead, it's still hard to deal with, especially as a black man in America and dealing with all the things that we deal with. So this is important to me, to have this platform, to be able to speak, to be able to talk about things I love. Me and you just transitioned into how we got together. North Carolina, the Tar Heels bonded us. Do you remember that?
I remember
like
that,
we
man.
was in middle school. That bonded us. People don't remember that North Carolina won 1993 the NCAA championship, but everybody remembers Chris Webber calling the timeout.
Yes.
So me and you, during that time, we were huge North Carolina fans.
Huge, man. And like I said, man, we have these conversations, and Steve and I, what you don't know, and that's a beautiful story about your father, and I can tell your father has played such an important role in your life.
Absolutely, even in his absence.
Yes. We start off middle school on the soccer field, man. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that? We start off on middle school, and Steve is so competitive. Steve is a great athlete if you don't know that. But and the one sport I am better than him at is soccer. And
Hey,
he
yo,
couldn't take that.
do you remember that you tried to play me in one-on-one in basketball?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yo.
Steve was a great athlete, but in soccer.
Nah,
Steve
you
couldn't
had me in
handle
soccer,
that.
yeah.
And Steve, like, he was kind of a bully towards me on that first day on the playground,
Yeah.
bro. You remember that?
But and I'll tell you why. And to be honest, man, listen, I grew up. I was I was the youngest out of 14.
Yeah.
So and I grew up with 4 brothers, barbarians. They were boisterous. They are just masculine to the bone. And growing up with them, being the smallest one, you had to learn how to earn your keep.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I was bullied, but there was an expectation to be something. I can remember vividly watching my brother play basketball. It was like poetry in motion. And my brother was better than yours, by the way. I know you remember that. We used to talk about that all the time. But my brother playing basketball, man, listen, my brother Tim was good. He was really good.
Yeah.
And I hate the fact that he didn't go farther than what he did. But watching him, even though he didn't go farther, I was able to go farther because of his example, because of the things that he didn't do, because of decisions that he did make that I no longer had to make.
Yeah.
So that was a pivotal point in my life as well. But man, listen, bro.
Shout out to Tim. Shout out to my brother.
Absolutely.
Virgil. They were friends before we were friends. It
Yeah.
kinda introduced us.
Absolutely.
Steve, boy, 11-9. That was the score to the basketball game. 11-9. I remember that like it was yesterday, but it wasn't as close as the score.
You weren't that trash, bro. You just wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not really it's not really that you were trash. It's just that I was better.
You were a better basketball player than I am. I'm not going to say that you were a better athlete.
Stop it.
You were a better basketball
You're
player than I am
reaching.
because soccer is the more athletic sport out of the two. But that's neither here nor there. Full circle, man. We're finally here. I'm so excited, man. We've talked about this day for years in the making. Having
Yes, sir.
this opportunity to talk about sports, talk about life, conversations that we're so passionate about, things that we're knowledgeable about. We're going to be real about this too, man.
Absolutely. And listen, man. So there's a lot. When we talked about a lot of different things, introduce ourselves. But I do want to ask you a question. And it's kind of a big topic right now, and everybody in the sports world. What do you think about this Nets thing, man? Like that for me right now. I'll say this, and you can go ahead after this. I think these, and I'll elaborate after you talk. But this is the most talented big three that I've ever seen in my life.
It's a bold statement. That's a bold statement.
I didn't say they would win. I just said the most talented.
What makes them the most talented?
I think you have 3 guys. There's a couple of things that you're measured by in basketball. It's the number of levels that you can score. So there's a 1, 2, and 3 level. You have 3 level scores at a high percentage all the way. Somebody pointed out this last night too. You have 3 players also that shoot 80+% from the free throw line, late game situation.
Wow.
And when I was watching James Harden and Kevin Durant in the pick and roll last night, bruh, it's a cheat code. And I don't know if you want to, I know what you're going to say when you're going to talk. I'm going to leave the Kyrie thing to you. But watching James Harden and Kevin Durant last night was literally like watching poetry in motion.
It was a beautiful thing to watch. It was. I mean, we know what James Harden brings to the table. We know what Kevin Durant brings to the table. We think we know what Kyrie
No,
brings.
we know what Kyrie brings. Don't do that.
think we
No,
know. We
you
really-
say you don't know what he brings to the table with that combination. Don't say you don't know what he brings to the
I've
table.
seen what James Harden can do when he's the guy on the team. He
Absolutely.
leads his team. He led his team to
We
the
know
Western
Kyrie's
Conference Finals.
he's a-
I've seen what Kevin Durant can do when he's a guy. He led his team to the Western Conference Finals. I've seen what Kyrie
Hit the biggest shot in NBA history.
His
You're
team
being
couldn't-
unfair
his
right
team
now.
Couldn't get to the playoffs when he was the guy.
Now, but he's not. He don't have to be the guy. So that's a scenario that we don't have to talk about.
He's the guy.
What his talent is.
Well, let's
His
go-
leadership ability may not be, but his talent is definitely there.
Okay, so let's go back to the most talented big 3 combination. So you're saying that they're more talented than LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh.
Absolutely. It's not even close. It's not even close.
More talented than the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson.
I would say
That-
yes.
okay.
I would say that would be the closest one because listen, Klay Klay Thompson struggles to drive the ball to the basket. He's not an inner paint scorer. All three, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving can get to the basket. They can shoot the mid-range and they can shoot the three. So when you judge it just on that, man, come on.
Okay, let's remove Kevin Durant from the equation because he's the common denominator between those two big threes.
Okay.
Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. Who are you taking out of those two?
What do you mean? Who?
The duos. Just the duos.
The duos?
Who's the better duo? Because you have to remove Kevin Durant out of that equation.
Well, because I'm going to say this. I haven't seen James Harden and Kyrie Irving play together.
Come on, Steve.
Talent doesn't dictate the better duo. Talent just talent.
Hypothetically speaking, we can kind of project what we know they would do. They would not produce.
Well, if you want to talk about a projection, okay, I'll take Harden and KD.
I'm talking about Harden and Kyrie. Let's say they're the Splash Brothers. We put them on Golden State.
They absolutely win the chip.
Come on, man.
Absolutely.
This is
You saying anything?
The Golden State Warriors trio of Kevin
Kyrie.
Durant. That is the most talented.
So you telling me that Kyrie Irving and
I would not even put them. I wouldn't put Kyrie, KD, and Harden above MJ, Pippen, and Rodman. I would not do that.
Rodman, listen. I believe Rodman is a Hall of Famer. But I'm talking about skill set. I'm not projecting championships. Because in basketball, we both know this. The best team doesn't always win.
That's not true.
The best team doesn't always win.
Basketball is the one sport where the best team always wins.
In 2011, the best team didn't win. I would say even in 89 and 90, I think the Bulls had a better team than the Detroit Pistons, but they just didn't know how to win. The NBA is more. You have to learn how to play in the NBA. The NBA, you don't just come in. Case in point. You're looking at young players coming in now. They're extremely talented. They show their physical gifts, but there are clear discrepancies in their game because there's a different way to play the NBA game. So the talent is not always gonna win, or the quote unquote best team. And I would say it's a glaring thing in 2011. I know that's a single example. I'll give you that.
I could give you 2011 is the caveat to this. Now we'll agree that Miami was clearly the more talented team, but it was their first year. They had to build the chemistry. LeBron James had to grow and really embrace being the number one guy. Even though he was the guy in Cleveland, the spotlight and the expectations weren't there like they were in South Beach. And he put those expectations out. They were not the one, not the two, not the three. Y'all already know how that story goes. But I'll give you that. But going back to the original question, is this the most talented big three? I can't say so because I think that Kyrie Irving's talent is greatly exaggerated.
Hold on. Explain that. Take his personality out. Take the fact that Kyrie Irving, people don't like what he say. Okay, let's talk about just on the court. Can you explain to me why are you saying that? Because Kyrie Irving to me is more talented than Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I didn't say he did things always off the court, but just talent wise, his ability to get to the basket, his ability to break you down with the dribble, his ability to shoot the mid range, his ability to finish with each hand. Stop. What is it that you don't like about Kyrie?
I'm strictly talking and referring to on the court.
So what is it then? What's the discrepancy?
He has not been able to lead his team to the playoffs. Cleveland was a doormat prior to LeBron James getting there.
And I'll give you that because
Boston won in spite of him. Jason Tatum was the guy on the team, not Kyrie Irving.
I don't think Jason Tatum was ready. I don't think he was ready at that point.
He led his team to the playoffs
last year. What I'm saying is to take their next to compare. Listen, let's not get away from the fact that Kyrie comes up in clutch moments. I get it. Kyrie he can be a headache. Kyrie is different. I get it. But on the court, when it's time for him to show up, Kyrie Irving plays basketball as good as anybody we've ever seen.
I'm not saying he's not talented. His talent is greatly exaggerated.
I don't get what's the exaggeration? Let me live in that for a second. What is the exaggeration part?
I think because he's more flashy than, let's take a Steph Curry, for example. People think that he is more talented than a Steph Curry, which I would argue. And I initially thought, man, Kyrie is more talented than Steph Curry. But this year, seeing them both play, Steph Curry is immensely more talented than Kyrie Irving.
I think Steph Curry understands how to get easier shots. I put him in the same class with Kevin Durant in terms of efficiency. He knows how to not do so much to get a shot. He's crafty.
Yeah.
But and Kyrie craftiness looks hard. Like dribble, cross you over here, go, dribble again. I get that. It can be exhausting sometimes. James Harden does the same thing. But last night, I'll say this. Let me give you a little cliff note. James Harden showed me last night he could be the greatest point guard we've ever seen. Oh my God. He was effortlessly.
James Harden is one of the smartest basketball players. I don't think he gets the credit for that because James Harden is not athletic at all.
Deceptively. I think it's deceptive.
He's not athletic. He has a dad bod. I mean, he's not athletic at all. And that's why he can still play very well being in that shape because he's so smart. He understands angles. He understands spacing on the basketball court.
So let me ask you this question then. So let's go to this question. Let's go to a second question. Do you think that this duo will work, and do you think they'll win a championship this year?
The duo of Kevin Durant and James Harden absolutely works. We saw.
What is your beef with Kyrie? What is your beef with him?
Kyrie doesn't understand who he is. Kyrie is that quintessential modern day athlete that thinks he is so great. The world has told him he's so great because his talent.
I feel you are spilling this over from off the court. On the court, has his game described to you in any moment that he's not what he claims to be on the court? Kyrie Irving is an assassin on the court. I don't know where you're getting this from.
Kyrie Irving, we're taking the time he spent in Cleveland with arguably the greatest player of all time, LeBron.
And he won a championship.
We're making that seem like that's not.
Hold on, isn't a championship the standard? Did he not win a championship?
That's not who Kyrie really is.
I don't care. Listen, the NBA is a results-driven league. So therefore, the highest standard, the gold standard is winning a championship. Did Kyrie win the championship and go to one more?
If you would have removed Kyrie Irving from that equation, and I'm really...
If was a fifth, we'll all be drunk, Joe. You saying anything?
I'm really about to pull my shoulder out on this. If you would have taken removed Kyrie Irving out of that equation, and at the time inserted a healthy, that's all I'm about to say is a healthy Isaiah Thomas, 5'9", Isaiah Thomas, the one that was averaging almost 30 points a game, Cleveland still would have been in that same position.
Listen, bro. Listen.
I think we are grossly overestimating.
Are you calling Kyrie a jag? And for those who don't know what a jag is, it's just another guy. Is he a jag? Because that's what it sounds like. You calling him a jag?
He is talented, but I think that we have given him attributes and added to his talent level because he played with arguably the greatest player of all time.
So let me shift to this. Let me shift to this for a second. So we have a litany of young players coming in the league.
Yes.
And I really want to know this because I got to be honest, and I can't lie or put on the front. I am a Zion fanatic. And you, Mr. Joe, you don't think that Zion is going to be who they're projecting him to be?
No, I don't.
Why?
Well, two things. It's a twofold question. I don't think his body will hold up. I don't think he is really taking his nutrition and conditioning serious.
I think he's still hurt. I don't know if I'm being biased, but I think he's still hurt.
Why is he still hurt?
I don't know. This is a mystery to me.
Why isn't he spending the amount of time and energy into his body like a LeBron James does? People are projecting you to be the next LeBron James, the next. That
is a lofty goal, though. Let this guy's 20 years old.
Understand it, but he embraced that.
Okay,
he embraced that. Make no mistake about it.
What do you mean?
He wanted to be the next guy.
Let me say this too as well. He embraced it, but he also told I'm just 20. That's true. Man. It's not an excuse, but what I'm saying is I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. What I will agree with that he has to get back to the body that he had at Duke.
Yes.
He won't sustain. If he's going to be injured, he won't be the next guy. But what I see with Zion for me and what makes me such a fan, it's damn near a shame. Listen, my wife probably hate me because every Zion game, bro, I literally watch. I'm enamored with him. Let me tell you why I'm enamored with him. Because he's the most unique athlete that I've ever seen. Nobody plays the game of basketball like Zion Williamson. I didn't say he was the best. I didn't say he would be the best. I think he'll be an all-time great. But the fact that his skill set is so unique, when he adds the other elements to his game, I'm very anxious to see and kind of understand, like, what can this kid truly be? And there's just a magnetic force field around this guy.
No, there he is. He has a magnetic personality. His game is very intriguing. It's interesting. You want to watch it. He's
Absolutely.
a high flyer. He has a personality. He checks all the boxes. It's on the court. I don't think he will.
He's an awful defender.
I wouldn't say he was an awful defender.
No, now he is. Okay. I watch him every game. He's an awful but I think that comes with time. I think that because here's the real issue. He's a mix between a 3 and a 4, and they don't know who the should I put him on a big man? He's too small. Like I seen him on Rudy Gobert and a couple of other big guys. They were just too big for him. And then you put him on a wing, they're just too fast for him. Yeah. So he has to figure out his body in order for him to be able to really be an impact, because you ain't gonna block everybody's shot.
I understand that. So think about this, Steve. All the question marks you just ask yourself. When you're the next guy, when you're supposed to be the next face of the league,
let me tell you why he is. Let me tell you what the next guy means. Let me tell you what the next guy means. The next guy does not mean that you play like everybody else, and I'm gonna come back to that. But Zion is so unique, like LeBron, like Jordan. When Jordan came in '84, nobody was playing like Jordan. Everybody was playing like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Everybody was playing one dribble, pass, do most. Nobody was doing that. And Jordan came in with the one-on-one offense. He came in with the hyper athleticism. People had never seen that. People at first rejected the notion of Jordan playing like that. And then you fast forward to 2003. We ain't gonna say rest in peace to Kobe, that's my guy, but he played like Jordan. Yeah. So, but you skip over to LeBron. Nobody had seen nobody play like that. Yeah. Like, think about it, bro. The predecessor to LeBron was Darius Miles. And Darius Miles wasn't bad. He just was that tweener too. Yeah. But he didn't have the skill set to dominate the way LeBron does. That's why I'm thinking Zion is the next guy, because everybody will have to play like him at some point, because nobody will be able to stop him once he understands the game of basketball. Now, let me go to this. Luka Doncic.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because just like Kobe emulated MJ, who is emulating LeBron right now?
Do you think Zion doing the same thing?
No.
Who? Luka. Okay.
Luka is the closest thing to LeBron James.
Without athleticism. Let's keep it at, listen.
Without
the athleticism is definitely not there, but he's great.
But we're going to take a deep dive into this. Luka is the next face of the league, because the league has completely shifted. It's international. The NBA does not really want to placate to the domestic audience. Most of their revenue comes from international audiences. The talent right now, they still get the majority of their talent from the domestic, from the local NBA, from the local American student, college player, or high school player. But if you look at the game now, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, what's my man up in Pascal Siakam up in Toronto?
He's playing like a bum this year too.
Yeah, it is an international game. Luka will be the new face of the NBA, because the NBA is going to be completely global.
I'll give you that.
And he resonates.
Let me give you another round.
Resonates all over the world.
So let me ask you another question that's kind of, here's where the life part meets at this one. Do you think that the NBA is pushing the next Larry Bird? Do you think the element of race plays any part in the marketing scheme? Because you're giving it all to the international space station, but you're not talking about the elephant in the room, which is the fact that he's a white guy and he's busting ass, and we haven't had a Larry Bird type of impact on the league where you say, oh, he legit, he can win the champ. Oh, he gonna average a triple. We haven't seen that in such a long, maybe since Dirk.
Yeah, but even Dirk.
But Dirk had an international. Dirk didn't feel American. Luka feels American.
He feels different.
He feels
different.
all American,
Yes.
white boy. He feels, like, okay, on a surfer board, like he can relate,
Yes.
and he feels that way.
Yes.
But Dirk didn't feel that way. Manu Ginobili didn't feel that way. Sabonis didn't feel that way. So that's why I liken him to Larry Bird, because they feel the same.
I agree. Listen, it's obvious, and it doesn't hurt that he looks European. He is European. And
No,
he looks more like,
it doesn't.
He looks.
I don't
like
mind
a Larry
parody.
Bird.
I don't mind parody.
It doesn't hurt. And listen, let's be honest. And I mean, this is the Steve and Joe podcast of Sports Meet Life. The NBA ratings are in the trash. The NBA ratings are in the trash right now, and a lot of eyeballs that, quite frankly, don't look like me.
So
and
give me a reason why it's in the trash.
Man,
Because you can't make statements like that. Tell me why it's in the trash.
well,
What are you leading to?
The numbers say so. I'm not making this up.
Okay, let's go beyond the numbers. What are you? Why did you decide to? Because the numbers are skewed. Numbers can be skewed in different ways. They can be skewed for certain things. Tell me why you believe it's in the tank.
Because for some reason, the NBA and some of its most popular players, specifically LeBron James, has turned this into a political platform.
What?
Where they want to make statements, and it's not about basketball anymore. And listen, people use sports as an escape. They just want to watch the product.
So are you a shut up and dribble guy?
I'm not a shut up and dribble guy.
It sounded like you were.
I'm not a shut up and dribble guy.
What statements are you talking about?
I'm giving you
then?
the reasons on why the NBA ratings are declining, and the NFL ratings. Look, sports in general, the ratings are declining, but they haven't suffered the steep decline like the NBA has, because the NBA, for some reason, chose to align themselves with certain political groups, and it's driven away a lot of fans from the product. And the only way you can get those fans back, if you can kind of read between the lines, is if you get someone who.
So let me ask you this question:
a little bit more relatable. And Luka looks relatable?
He looks white. Let's go ahead and say what it is. He looks white. Let's stop with the talking around it. So let me ask you this question: so are you okay with that, or do you think that should be the push?
No, I do not think.
Okay, because I was about to say.
No, I'm not okay with the NBA aligning themselves with political party.
Oh, okay. So, so why?
I am. Because people, the average American, the average person that works a 9-to-5 job, the person that's in the plant who's grinding and is trying to put food on the table to feed their family.
What person are you talking about, Joe?
They need middle America.
Middle what America? Middle white America.
I'm not gonna say middle white America
because I enjoy it. Because listen, seeing athletes speak out for me, it has been a joy. It's been a breath of fresh air for me. I don't know what America are you talking about.
I'm fine with speaking out on things that are on your heart, but when you align yourself with certain groups that are clearly political,
is the authenticity damaged?
I'm not. Listen, the product is still good.
What I'm asking you is the authenticity. If you align yourself with somebody, and you say, okay, I'm aligning with you because of what you think about that political party, does that make the cause any less ineffective?
Listen. Me personally, I can
effective.
I can separate. Even though if I agree or disagree, I can still separate the product from what they're aligning with. But it's just, I think if they could go back, they would do things a lot differently, and they wouldn't put Black Lives Matter on the basketball court. And LeBron James will probably do a little bit more research on certain topics before speaking on it.
Okay, so let me ask you, what's the problem that you have with Black Lives Matter being on the court?
Well, because when you put Black Lives Matter on a court, whether you are knowledgeable of it or not, you are aligning yourself with a certain political party. If you do your research, there's a lot of people don't do their research and understand that it has made.
We've always said research, but go ahead. Everybody just do your research, nigga. We got Google,
and it has turned a lot of people away from the product. Now, I'm one of those people who I can separate. I can still watch the NBA product and appreciate the greatness of the athletes and the performance that and the competition and everything. But a lot of people they can't separate themselves from that. So it has to be all.
And I think what we're talking about is like, we're talking about middle America.
Yes.
We're talking about middle suburban white America. That's what we're talking about.
I don't want to say that.
And it is. Let's keep it above. There may be a couple of people here and there, but let's be clear for the majority of our existence, white Americans have footed the bill and paid the ticket prices to come to certain games. So the NBA markets to their constituents when it comes to that. They market to them.
Yeah.
But and let's be honest about that, because of the economic disadvantage that we were up against as black people, we couldn't attend all the games and get all the clubhouse seats and things like that. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about them. It's okay. We're talking about white America. Okay. So we're talking about white America. But what the dynamic of the world is changing. And if the NBA understands this more than the NFL, the shift is happening.
The shift is happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now I agree with you. Yes, we are talking about white America because they are the majority of this country. And like you said, the majority of the revenue comes from that demographic. However, it also impacts black Americans as well. There are black Americans who I'm like, I really don't want to see BLM plastered on the basketball court. I really don't want to hear LeBron James talk about this today. We get it. We understand it's there. We're all cognizant of it. We know what's going on. Let this be the place where I can just relax. I know it's not like it's not like the 50s or 60s or 70s where we didn't know. Everyone knows what's going on.
But and that's the point. You bring light to what's going on, and you don't listen. In past, when we fought, there was always a point to where we stopped, or where there's the movement was halted, or something happened. At this point in time, we can't take our foot out the gas. At this point in time, every sector of business, anytime that we have influence, and you see more and more, and what I will say is when we're transitioning to our main topic, where the tale of two eras, we're talking about LeBron James and Michael Jordan. We're going to talk about it in a minute. But what I'm saying is the fact that athletes are speaking out now, the fact that athletes have the platform to say how they feel, it affects a numerous amount of people. Little boys sitting at home that idolize them, and they see that, he's speaking out, so it gives them the courage to recognize their awareness. Because when I grew up, when I was a young boy, I wasn't aware of my color. It didn't hit me. It didn't register with me until I realized this little kid, his name was Aaron. I'll never forget it. And I used to have to eat the free lunch and the square pizzas. And you remember the square pizzas? I used to have to eat that. And he used to bring his lunch. Yeah. And man, he had them high C's. He had them Lunchables. I said, that's a difference. And I started recognizing that, the car that he got picked up in, I had to ride a bus. And I seen, and even back then, Cadillacs was big. So I was like, dang, he got a nice house. And he got a nice car. And I was like, I started to recognize, like, man, why don't I have that stuff? Mm-hmm. It wasn't because of the class at that time, and I was still fine with that. But once I started to see, I went over his house a few times. I was like, well, my house don't look like this. And that was the first time, and I started paying attention to more things. Yeah. After that experience, then my awareness was heightened at that point. Then I started everything. I started to say, why are more black people over here and more white people over here? Then it became real to me. But I didn't have a spokesman. There was nobody that I looked to. Do you know who the first person that really transformed the ideal of my life, because I didn't have a father?
Who was that?
Jay-Z. 2001, when the Blueprint came out. It was the first time I ever heard a black man speak like that I know, because we didn't have the internet back then. Back in 2001, the internet wasn't like that. We had no phones. So, at that time, I was like, oh, God, he can speak like this. He can talk like this. My uncles didn't talk like that. And hearing him talk, it inspired me. But now we have athletes speaking out, being a voice, putting things on the line for things that matter. They understand the gravity of the voice. And the NBA has given the players empowerment. And that to me, for me, I don't know how you can't gain another fan base, because you got to think about it. The young people are growing up.
Yeah, I'm fine with athletes speaking out and giving light to the situation. I'm on board with that. I think that's good. What I don't agree with is when a league aligns themselves with a political party. That's all I'm speaking to.
So I don't get, when you say align, Like, is there concrete, or is there something that why do you say a line? I don't get why you make that assumption.
The BLM organization is not an assumption. This is true. The BLM organization is aligned with the Democratic Party.
Okay,
that's
all right. But what I'm saying is but the
and people
let's get stopped. The slogan, the Black Lives. We're talking about what's actually in the message. To see that, when I look at BLM on the court, it makes me feel like somebody's thinking about my well-being in life. It makes me feel like, okay, somebody sees the trauma, the hurt, the pain, the things that I've been through. I don't think about it whether they are aligned with a party where there's a motive. There's always motives in business. There's always motives in partnerships. That's just we're in a capitalistic society. That's what we live in. That's what happens. But what I'm saying is, the people that the message is supposed to get to, the people that see Black Lives Matter on the court, our uncles that grew up, our grandfathers, our great grandfathers, our ancestors, the people that life that never mattered, that now they're great. The people, their children, their children's children get to experience and get to say, hey, your life matters, when they never heard it matter. So if you want to talk about a different conversation with big government and how it plays with that, that's what I'm saying. I can separate what they're doing in the back door to the authenticity of what the message is.
You can separate that.
That's all who needs to separate it.
But the middle America.
Why do we
use it whatever adjective, because we're talking about the people who are the revenue, who generates the revenue.
No. We spend over $1 trillion in this industry. Listen,
no. We spend, but let's be real. With the revenue,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying in terms of
the
revenue.
Audience, the eyeballs.
No, but we have a bigger. Listen, bro. The internet changed all of that. The internet changed the ability to the way you can get marketed. Advertising companies isn't just about who buys this product and buy that. It's about views now. It's about things of that. It's about,
and it's not getting the views.
I would say before the pandemic happened, but I think we have a little recency bias.
We have some reason there.
I think you've seen bubble. I think you've seen
there's some recency bias.
There is, because prior to the pandemic,
the NBA finals happened during an odd time of the year.
Absolutely.
There's credence, all that. And like I said before, ratings across all sports are down.
So however, can we reserve judgment then?
I don't want to reserve judgment, because the simple fact of the matter is, it is a variable into it. And it has affected how
it's a variable. Listen, bro, when you do business, you understand that in the first maybe 18 months, you're not going to make money. You understand that you're going to lose things. You understand that things are going to happen. You're going to have costs but
owners have also come out and they realize that they made a mistake.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they've said that. Why? Okay, let me ask you this question. Why aren't we seeing it on the courts this year so far?
Well, because I think at the time you had the George Floyd situation that happened, you had the Breonna Taylor. So we was in a hotbed of the pandemic.
Has anything changed as a black man in America?
No, nothing's changed, but it was ever present at that time.
No, but has it changed?
No, it has not changed.
So the quote unquote battle is still going on, right?
Absolutely, but so what I'm saying,
why relent?
But I don't think they're relenting. I think what's going on is you have. They're not just in a bubble anymore. I think they are in different stadiums, and different teams can go about social justice the way they feel. I think if you try to mandate how somebody does social justice, then we're playing a different game. So at that point.
There's not a team out of all the NBA teams in the league. There's not a team that feels like we should still have this message on the court.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to answer a question. I'm not going to try to answer that question because I don't know. Yeah. But what I do know is the social justice haven't stopped. It hasn't came to a halt. And here's what happens a lot of times. We are a reactionary generation, and we do react to things a lot. Yeah. So it causes a combustible explosion. It just blows up, and you see knee-jerk reactions a lot. Yeah. And that's with anything. Anytime a bomb goes off, it doesn't stay going off. You see the rubble after that. So what happens is we're in a phase to where it's just the needs are being met off the television screen. is being met behind closed doors, where the real work has to be done. Because that's what happens with any revolution, anything you're doing. You have a big explosion, and then what happens and what trickle down is the work. The work has to be done now. Now it's time for, now you go into the communities. Now you're really building up communities. So I think that's the phase that we're in right now, because right now the American people, right now Black people in particular, I think now the lip service and the slogans and the message, I think that's good, all well and good, but we want results. We don't want to be talked to anymore. I don't want you to tell me how great you are. I don't want you to confiscate my talent anymore. I want you to pay me what you owe me right now. There's a bill due right now. So what I think we're in the mix right now of now the work being done in terms of the NBA. And I think the people that the work is being done for now want to just see action. We don't want to see talk. We don't want to see lip service, because right now I want America to earn the trust of Black people in America, because you have to earn the right for us to be here now, because we have done so much for this country. We have fought and died for this country not to get the same rights. We can't overstate the value of our athletes speaking out. We can't overstate the value of what they're risking as well. And I think they're using their voice, and we're going to transition to this right now. And using their voice is an unbelievable thing that we've seen, and it's caused so much change, and it's a ripple effect. And you even seeing it now move up to the political arena as well, which I understand that being in politics can be tricky, but when you see how it's affecting communities and how it's forcing politicians to see things that's really going on in America. So seeing that, let me ask you this. We're talking about, I want to talk about our actual main topic.
Yeah.
Before you get
to the main topic.
Go ahead.
For my reason for having that long conversation, which is a good conversation. My reason for picking Luka Doncic as the next face of the NBA, because he will be the person that brings those eyeballs back. Simply because of his talent and because of his relatability. And I'm saying the NBA will not die if he's not the guy. I'm telling you right now, Zion can do it. Jason Tatum can do it. I even like Jaylen Brown. He can do it. Ja Morant. There's a lot of formidable players right now that can do it. LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball. Listen, bruh. But that's another conversation. Listen, I'm going to see him play. He is worth the price of. He's box office. He is. He is box office. Let me say this. So here's I wanted to kind of lend this to you. Michael Jordan and LeBron James have been debated over the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years in terms of comparing who's the greatest of all time. And it's been an interesting dynamic. It's been a redundant conversation. I would agree, very redundant. Who's the GOAT? And I have my pick who I think the GOAT, but and we can talk about that another time. But what I want to talk about is the tale of two eras. I want to kind of merge the sports and the life arena together and make it, and kind of draw a parallel. LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Let's talk about Michael Jordan first. Let me say this. Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete in terms of popularity, his game, how he moved the culture. I would say ever, no in sports of all time, I would say Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete to ever live. He will always be the gold standard when it comes to athletes. I agree with that. It will never be another athlete that's the gold standard. I think Tiger Woods got close. I think Ali, if he wouldn't have came back, he got close. I think those are only three. And I think LeBron James is creeping up to that. What is your basis on the gold standard? Like, what do you mean? I think Michael Jordan embodied hard work meets talent. I think he had 100% of both of those. I think a lot of times you'll see a guy, he'll take a game off, but he has immense talent. Okay. Then you'll see a hard-working guy, but he don't have a lot of talent. I think Jordan had all of those things, and he utilized those every night. I think LeBron he works hard, and he has talent, but LeBron James, there's nights that LeBron James won't. He's reached that level now. He's not taking nights off anymore. Earlier in his career, I agree, but he's at that Jordan level where his hard work and talent are colliding.
I will give you that now.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see him play.
Yeah.
Actually, more games than he's playing right now.
Yeah.
And right now, just talking about it, LeBron James, he's playing at it. And when I watched him last night, I can't remember who they played last night. They played the Pelicans, and I watched Zion. Mm-hmm. And LeBron James' IQ on the court and his ability to control the game is second to. I've never seen an athlete be able to control the game the way LeBron James does. It is unbelievable. He knows the spots to get to. He knows where his teammates wants the ball. He knows when to score. He knows when to drive. It is unparalleled what he does on the court. He's taken his athleticism. He's added his IQ. And he's learned the game of basketball better than I think anybody has ever learned the actual IQ aspect of the game.
I agree with that. And that's because, like, going back to the topic at hand, we're in two different eras. The era that we live in now requires that. It requires you to understand because everyone is extremely athletic.
Absolutely.
Everyone is extremely talented. Everyone is extremely skillful. We joke all the time. Like, back in the day, what's my man's name for the New York Knicks?
John Starks.
Anthony Mason. Anthony Mason could not play in today's NBA.
Absolutely
Let's
not.
be real.
He'll be fouling. He wouldn't make an NBA roster.
Exactly.
I know that's a bold statement. Anthony Davis was a tough son of a gun. I'll give you that. He was the guy that you would want at the playground. But in the day's NBA, he would be outmatched.
Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley. We
Absolutely. Dale Davis.
Those guys
couldn't. I don't think they could play just athleticism.
Yeah.
Toughness, yes.
Yeah. We could not play in today's NBA because everyone can shoot, everyone can dribble, everyone is athletic. So now you have to beat people mentally. And
let me give a little respect to the older heads. It doesn't mean that that wasn't great for their time.
Exactly.
It's just that their game wouldn't translate to this era, but they were great. So I don't want to knock them or make it seem like they were trash because they wasn't trash.
No.
It's just that now the game has evolved to a different level. Yes. Now let me say this. Let's go into this. Do you believe that Jordan was able to develop at a slower pace than LeBron James was? And do you think if LeBron James had the real time, without the scrutiny, without the shows, without the constant media coverage, Jordan got it too, but again, the public didn't really see it. It was just really behind. You may see it in the paper, but you didn't really see like the constant news cycle like that LeBron had to deal with. Do you think the GOAT debate would be over, or do you think that LeBron James would be at a different level if he played in a different era? Unfair question, but I just want to ask for the sake.
LeBron James would be at a completely different level. The eras, and I love this topic. I'm glad that we're talking about this because people don't understand how much the world has changed from LeBron James's era. Heck, even when LeBron James got into the league until fast forward to 2021, it's completely different.
Absolutely.
We live in a possession by possession league. You are a judge of how
you are
literally. Michael Jordan was judged playoffs to playoffs, not even game to game. How he did in the playoffs, championships.
LeBron got Skip Bayless every day.
Not even every day. He's tweeting. If LeBron James misses a free throw, Skip Bayless is tweeting about how terrible he is. Think about if the players back in the 90s had to deal with social media. Take it off of the basketball court. We know what these modern day athletes and celebrities, we know who they're talking to, who they're hanging around, who they're dating, what they're doing after hours. Could you imagine if we knew everything that Michael Jordan did every single day of his life? We got
to see a little bit of it in the Last Dance.
Exactly.
And it changed the perspective of a lot of people as well. It did. People had a little bit of, he was like that. It took some of the mystique off of Jordan a little bit.
Listen, everybody talks about Michael Jordan and how clutch he is. I'm not refuting that at all.
Of course.
And how mentally tough he is. I'm not refuting that at all. But he retired because he couldn't handle the pressure the media was putting on him about gambling. Think about that.
And I think like a lot of players, and here's where we don't give LeBron James enough. He knows how to handle the media.
He knows.
He's a great master because 616 he's been getting covered. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like, think about it. He had a game on ESPN. Like, bro, like the whole world was watching to see was he a part.
At the age of 16.
So he been able to absorb media and take it. It wasn't a negative connotation. It was somebody that was in favor of him. It was giving him accolades. It was giving him praise. But you got to understand, even for the black athlete back in the early 80s and 90s, Jordan, even he was getting. I went back and looked at this. You know, all the time Jordan wasn't covered favorably. It wasn't Air Jordan all the time. It was, you're shooting too much. You're doing that one-on-one isolation back. That was a narrative.
Listen, that's minuscule compared to what
I get it, but what I'm saying,
think about what Jim Brown, think about what Muhammad Ali, those athletes, Arthur Ashe athletes.
Oh, no question. I'm definitely not comparing
that's
that.
real pressure. Like, I think that
don't do that. We can't do that. We cannot.
But we're talking about, like, Michael Jordan is given this cloak of mystique where he could just have overcome anything. We saw firsthand he could not handle the pressure the media was putting on him in 1994 and 1993-94. He retired.
You're doing the same thing you did with Kyrie.
He retired.
You are spilling things over off the court.
It doesn't matter. What's the difference? What's the difference?
We're not comparing.
But Kobe Bryant retired when he went through this controversy? He could have.
Kobe wanted to be traded. He wanted to be traded.
I'm talking about when the Colorado thing went down. Did he retire? Michael Jordan took his ball and he went home.
To be fair, Michael Jordan, he did have his father pass away. I
understand that. But what I'm saying is LeBron James is, if Michael Jordan were under the same, and I know it's hard to compare eras.
It is.
Michael Jordan
it's impossible,
said
actually.
The same thing. But just think about if Michael Jordan was under the same microscope as LeBron James. We know how competitive he is. And if Skip Bayless got on first, whatever the show he is on with Shannon Sharp, and he ripped Michael Jordan the way he rips LeBron James, Michael Jordan will come out the next night and shoot 60 shots. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, he would. And listen, but we can't do if it's unfair. It is, because we don't know. And we don't know what we don't know. True. So it's unfair to I stopped doing that. If I get the argument, I get it. I agree that players evolve and get better. I do agree with that. But how they have handled things of this nature, I don't know. There's a reverse side to that. Imagine Jordan's brand, how big it was then, and multiply it by social media. Now, that's
a tough one too, Steve.
But think about it. Though. But maybe that's like LeBron. Maybe he gets used to handling. Maybe he anytime something keeps happening over and over again, you become accustomed to it. You have the ability to understand whether it hurts or not. We're judging him on the time that this time is not the time he lived in.
Yeah, but isn't that part of his mystique?
I don't know.
Because Michael Jordan, he wasn't tangible. Like, the modern day athlete is tangible. Like, we feel like we can reach out and touch. Like, I can send LeBron James a tweet, and if it's controversial enough, he may respond.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, Michael Jordan wasn't tangible. You had to go to the game and watch him and pray to God that he came outside by your hotel.
And I seen Michael Jordan in 1992 in Atlanta.
Yeah,
I never forget that. But that, I think that's why the argument is still relevant, because of the absolute just mystique of Michael Jordan and what he is and what he meant to the culture. Michael Jordan's effort, just his effort, inspired black men all across the nation to dispel the notion that we don't work hard, that we don't do things. His effort on the basketball court, combining with his talent, working hard, it ushered in a new idea about who we are as black people and black men in particular. So I would say that's what's keeping the argument going. And while LeBron hadn't ran away with it.
But what I'm saying is, if you transpose LeBron into Michael Jordan's era, and we see a 16-year-old kid rise to these levels and to these heights without making a mistake, without getting arrested, without any type of controversies or blemishes, could you imagine the mythology his character, LeBron James, would have if he had that cloak of protection that the 90s gave you in that era? Could you imagine how big he would be? People would be comparing him to a deity.
Well, let me first go back and say this. Him not getting arrested, him not getting in trouble. I don't see that as a success. I see that as somebody just being a regular man, which we've always wanted to be, just a man in society. That's not a standard for us not to get arrested.
No,
that's
I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying, but I don't see that as something that I can compare. Imagine what he'll be. He has no he shouldn't have no blemishes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. This is the conversation. Is that we should not be like these little like, oh, if you do right, if you do this, then we're gonna call you a good guy. You the good guy. What they're really saying is you the good nigga. I'm gonna go ahead and just say it. And we don't. Our standards have always been there. Yeah. And I would even say for Jordan and majority of the athletes in the league. What gets publicized is the ones that don't make it, but I'm not, and the one that do mess up.
I'm doing it. I'm looking at beyond race. We had this conversation.
Can we look beyond race?
If you were to put me,
come on, Joe. This podcast exists because of that.
Listen,
stop it.
But look, hear me out, because we had this conversation. If you would have given me the same 16-year-old Joseph, the same opportunity as LeBron James, my God, I would have messed it up so bad. I couldn't handle who the average 16-year-old could handle being tabbed as the next guy. Who can handle that? I don't care if you're black, white, what I'm saying. Brown, you're Asian. Lord.
But why couldn't? But what's the?
Because
if his mama listen,
old.
Why is the expectation? I don't care what color. The expectation. If you are talented and you have the right people around you, which LeBron James obviously did, it's not a math equation. It's not anything complicated. It's the fact that LeBron James had the right people around him, giving him the right advice. That's what LeBron James had around him. And that's it. But I'm not taking credit away from him. I'm just saying, let's not pretend, or let's not act like that should be the goal. That's not the gold standard. We should just be right because we're right.
Steve, 16 years old.
I agree. It is pressure.
And you are tabbed as the next biggest sports icon, and you don't make any mistakes. It doesn't matter about race.
I'm not saying
hard to do in general.
I'm just saying the same question is not asked for white athletes. We don't have these same. Did he get in trouble? We've never talked about whether Larry Bird was going to get in trouble. No, we're never going to have a conversation about Luka Doncic getting in trouble.
We would still marvel over it.
I would not marvel over it. Nobody ever talked about Dirk Nowitzki's or Manu Ginobili's. Nobody, Mark Price, Steve Kerr. Nobody's ever talked about their behavior.
No, we're not talking about the behavior. We're talking about when you're put into that position. You're put into that position. You're 16 years old. You're tabbed. You have the spotlight on you. Millions of people around the world are looking at you, and you do it the quote unquote right way. That is an accomplishment. Like, you can't take away from that.
I'm not saying that's not an accomplishment. What's the standard for the right way? Black men across America, black men across the country have been doing things the right way. LeBron James doing that is just his reasonable service. It's just him being a good human being, taking care of his wife, being in his children's life. That's just a reasonable service.
I got you. I used the wrong. The right way is not what I meant. To do it in a way to where he's been unscathed. Okay. Like, he didn't make any egregious mistakes. Like,
why was he supposed to? Is what I'm asking you. Why was that?
Because he was given the world at 60 years old. Dude, have you not been? Were you 16 at one point?
No, what I'm saying is,
did you make mistakes?
Everybody, but LeBron made mistakes. But what I'm saying is, when you have the right people around you, when you have the right people holding you accountable for your actions, what tends to happen is they either cover you or they don't let you get too far to where you do mess yourself up. So what I'm saying is LeBron James done just being a human being is what black men across the country has been wanting to be recognized about for centuries. But what I will say this, and wrapping up, this thing that we're doing here, this podcast, I believe that what we're kind of talking about is us finding our voice as black men in this country. And for me, I want to make sure that my voice, for not only my children, but for every black male that deals with life, that deals with so many circumstances, but that always also want to talk about sports as a release. Yeah. Also want to be able to, come to the table and just say, let's have a full conversation. Let's talk about sports. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about everything. And I don't want to talk at people. I don't want to Like I don't have the answers, but I want to have a conversation and be transparent about what we go through in a society. And I believe, this is my last thing I'll say. I believe in a complete and total liberation of black value in this country, specifically black men, and to bring that back to the forefront through meaningful conversations, through action plans. And that's what we want to be as a podcast. And I appreciate you for having me this episode, and it's been a great thing. Let's continue to build on this.
Most definitely, we continue to build on this. It's been an honor. I'm looking forward to the future of this podcast. We are the Steve and Joe podcast.
Yes, sir.
Where
Yes,
sports
sir.
meets life. This is just
Let's go, baby.
Taste of things to come.
Let's go.
We'll see y'all next time.
Yes, sir. We out.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
I told you a lot of things, right?
I am the greatest.